Hey there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So tomorrow's election day, and it's going to be a really big one. The future of Carmel is really in the balance on this one. The Republican and the Democrat candidate want to continue with the development of five-story apartment buildings and increasing population density. However, I don't think that's a good idea. And if you're afraid of the Democrat getting in, well, by voting for the Republican, you're doing exactly that. So the Republican's platform is to continue with population density, but she does it in a very, very sneaky way to where she's going to have yet another committee. And that committee is going to be comprised of residents that she approves of, therefore her donors approve of, and developers, who are most of her donors. That's a really sneaky way to hide behind other people and other government entities that she's forming to get away with developing five-story buildings, because she has never openly come out and said she's going to stop it. She always says, we need to consider. And consider is her big escape word for getting out of stuff. So as far as the Democrat's concerned, his biggest platform is to just stop a group that he doesn't agree with ideologically. And there's nothing in the mayoral's tool belt that allows for anything like that to happen. So the only thing he can really do is continue with development of five-story apartments, which will happen regardless of either other candidate. And the other thing is he wants to try to push for mass transit, which I don't know of anybody running on city council that will actually approve of that. Maybe a couple Democrats, but even then, I don't know if they would even be on board with that. So his likelihood of getting the things done that he wants to get done is basically zero. And I think he will ultimately end up becoming kind of a do-nothing mayor, which in stark contrast of the Republican candidate is probably a much better option, frankly. The Republican candidate wants to basically build a whole bunch of committees. And if you're not familiar with city level government, committee is basically the equivalent of the president establishing like the IRS or the ATF. It's just more government bureaucracy. That's all it is. So she wants more government, more population density, and she sponsored a Pride festival that had a drag show where there were a bunch of kids stuffing money into the underwear of drag queens. And she supports that. Even had her speech as the front page of her website for a really long time after she was called out on it. So the biggest thing that she's running on is more government, more population density, and pro-LGBTQ+. I don't know of any Republican that has a baseline of that, but that is very much a fundamental Democrat. So if you're trying to prevent the Democrat from getting in and you vote for the Republican candidate, you're doing literally the exact opposite. The other thing is, if you're afraid of what the Democrat can potentially do, well, think of it this way. Everything he's doing is all about what happens in the school. So that's a school board issue. He, as mayor, has literally no impact. He has no ability to do any of the things that he's running on. However, if he's not elected, then next year when school board elections become available, he's well known throughout the city for running on school issues, and therefore will be much more likely to get voted into school board next year. So at that position, he will be able to do all those things. And if you're a conservative that are concerned about that, well, then he's a much larger threat next year than he will be this year. So just consider that. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as a stark contrast, really in a three-way race, you only need about 4,000 votes with the average population of about 10,000 people showing up to vote in general elections, at least here in the city of Carmel. So with 4,000 votes, that's not a lot. Everybody's pretty much on board with what I'm running on, which is slowing down apartment development, stopping any new debt. I don't want any new debt. I actually want to just stay within our means and pay down existing debt. That's the core of the campaign. And that resonates with virtually everyone. The only people who don't like that are part of establishment politics or are very, very pro-development, which is not a lot of people. The Republican candidate, her biggest crowning jewel for her platform is that she's gonna have a focus on safety in Carmel. But fundamentally, if you increase the population of an area, especially with population density, you're just playing the odds. The more people you have in an area, the more likelihood you are going to have people who just are not well-intended. And that's why like small towns have a very low crime rate, because they have a lower population, therefore fewer people to have the opportunity to do something ill-intended. If you have high density, high population, you're just playing the odds, and you're going to be more likely to have someone that has an ill intent. So as you increase population density, you're going to just play the odds and increase your chances of having more people move in who are ill-intended. So just on a fundamental arithmetic level, my platform is automatically safer than the Republican candidate's platform. Further than that, her whole talking point is basically doing the absolute bare minimum, like doing this just baseline necessities to manage and maintain a police department. That was a given. So I'm clearly going to do all of those things as well, except for setting up a committee to have people report crime issues. That is so silly to me. We already have a police department that files police reports. So that's extra redundancy within government and it is absolutely unnecessary. Also, I was talking with somebody yesterday who he's been in law enforcement, his brother's been in law enforcement, and every time they have to deal with a committee that is comprised of civilians that are not familiar with the police work, it says it's absolutely a disaster every single time. They usually get very, very little done and it handcuffs the police force. So anyway, just wanted to mention that as well. What I'm actually going to do, besides, not set up a committee that's going to be counterproductive in the long run, and also manage the baseline necessities for keep the police department going, I want to actually send regular police patrols through home place. I know there's some people that have had a wonderful experience, but I lived near that area. There's like 96 in College, kind of that area, from 2011 to about 2018, I think. And in that time frame, my car was broken into about 5 times, and I ordered one thing from Amazon, and that one thing was stolen. So it was not a great track record for me personally. I've knocked a lot of doors in home place, and they feel like they're the redheaded stepchild that's completely ignored by the city, even though their taxes have gone up 40%. So what I would like to do is to give some resources to them by having the police force show up there and just patrol that area more regularly and help them with any potential crime issues. So I think that would actually be helpful, would actually be beneficial, and ultimately it'll help give taxpayers better return on investment in that area. I know they also have some issues with roads, and I think one of the biggest areas that the city currently wants to help them out is there's an intersection on 106 in College where they want to build 4 5-story apartment buildings on that intersection. And I absolutely disagree with that. I do not want that at all. I would like to see 2-story commercial retail spaces. I would like to see more areas for businesses to grow and to have better competition for their rent rates. So that is something that I would like to do with that particular intersection. But anyway, yeah, I don't think spending more money, going further into debt, having increased population density is good for Carmel or Republican values, but those are the things that the Republican candidate is running on. So if you're trying to avoid a Democrat and you're voting for the Republican, you're putting your Democrat in office. I just want you to know. So the most conservative option you have is myself. And because I'm not running on partisan issues, I'm running on just basic things that everybody in Carmel universally, unanimously wants. I'm a safe vote. Tomorrow, write in Johnson for mayor. It's really your only choice for a at least conservative candidate, and a vote for Johnson is a vote for yourself. So take care, God bless Carmel, and as always, stay classy. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.